Tantor Audio presents 50 Ways to Soothe Yourself Without Food by Susan Albers PsyD. Narrated by Anne-Marie Lee. Introduction. On days like today, I could eat everything that isn't nailed down. I find myself sneaking into the kitchen after getting both kids to bed. I rummage through the refrigerator for something to eat. I justify my nibbling by telling myself that after such a hard day, I deserve something satisfying. Munching makes me feel good. It's instant bliss. I forget about all my chores and stress. And after all the leftovers are gone, I still feel like I need something else. So, I open up a box of cookies. I can't stop eating them until I am way past stuffed. Why does eating feel so good in the moment, and then I feel so much worse than when I started? Rachel. Does this sound familiar? When Rachel needs comfort, she needs it now. A nagging boss, demanding kids, and never-ending housework all seem to vanish for a moment, just as long as she is eating. Munching on potato chips provides a seductive moment of calming and soothing. But just a few minutes after she swallows the last morsel, the soothing effect vanishes, and she is filled with regret and guilt. Rachel's relationship with food sums up the way most emotional eaters feel, sometimes on a daily basis. Eating has an amazingly contradictory power. It can relax and calm your nerves, while at the same time, it can drive you crazy. When you eat to soothe yourself, it is generally what most of us call stress eating or emotional eating. These terms describe the times you eat specifically to calm down, numb out, or elevate, prolong, lessen, or avoid your feelings. Notice, however, that emotional eating and stress eating are different. Stress eating means consuming food in response to feeling overwhelmed or upset. Emotional eating includes eating done not to relieve hunger, but in response to any kind of feeling, even pleasant ones like joy and surprise. Yes, it's true. Even good feelings can lead to overeating. Sometimes you eat because it makes you feel good, and you don't want that feeling to stop. In Rachel's case, just about any kind of demand on her time prompted her to eat for emotional reasons. Rachel's emotional eating was becoming a problem. The same cycle was repeating over and over again. Stress, need comfort, need to eat, feel relief, feel good, positive feeling fades, feel guilt, need soothing, more stress about guilt and weight gain. Begin cycle again. Although eating provided a temporary emotional patch, the major downside was that she was gaining weight. She hated stepping on the scale because every time she weighed herself, the numbers seemed to go up. It didn't matter whether she was experiencing a major or a minor stress. Each time she felt stressed, she went straight to food for a quick pick-me-up. Rachel couldn't understand why she continually sought food for comfort when it caused her so much distress about her weight. It just didn't make sense. This book explains why people like Rachel and like you fall into the trap of eating to soothe yourselves. It covers some of the reasons that make emotional eating so seductive and comforting. As you listen, you'll be taking a closer look at your emotional eating for the purpose of conquering it. You'll also learn some practical solutions. Essentially, if you eliminate eating as your main source of comfort, you have to find something helpful to put in its place. In this book, there are over 50 tips and techniques for doing just that. The initial techniques and tips are based on the concept of mindfulness, which is a clinically sound way to calm and soothe both your body and your mind. You will also learn mindful coping skills that will help you to better regulate your emotions. To put it simply, mindfulness is the state of awareness. When you are truly aware of what you are feeling and approach your feelings with a non-judgmental attitude, you can find healthy ways to deal with whatever kind of discomfort you might be trying to numb out with food. Say goodbye to comfort foods and hello to using your mind and body to cope with emotional eating. My background. As you listen to this book, you'll notice that I refer to the clients I work with in my psychotherapy practice. I am a clinical psychologist who was trained at the University of Denver and completed a postdoctoral fellowship at Stanford University. Over the last 10 years, I have focused on treating clients who are struggling with dieting, body image, anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder. Many of the examples that I use in this book are adapted from my clients' experiences and stories. The mystery of emotional eating. I am sad. I eat. I am irritated with my mother. I eat. I am frustrated with myself. I eat. I am happy about my new apartment. I eat. Melanie. Many eating problems aren't really about food. They are about self-soothing. Self-soothing techniques are methods to calm and relax your body and mind, as well as soothe your nerves. They are the actions you take every day to calm yourself down. The absence of self-soothing techniques is why many diet books help people only up to a certain point. Too often they don't help their readers lose weight in the first place. Then if the weight is lost, they don't tell their readers how to keep it off over the long term. Diet books address only what you eat. They guide you to make nutritional changes. But far too often they don't cover the reason why you consume too much food. Sometimes it isn't about what you eat during meals. Your weight gain may be due to the extra calories that come from stress or emotional eating. Unfortunately, diet books seldom tell you how to replace food with other comforting and pleasurable substitutes. Nor do they provide practical and realistic examples of how to deal effectively with emotional eating. Without these elements, managing your weight becomes nearly impossible. Many people have been taught very ineffective ways to self-soothe from an early age. These ways are mainly about finding an escape parachute to avoid whatever is bothering you. The message is, distract yourself. Focus on things that feel good or entertain yourself. Typically, self-soothing means turning to food, TV, gambling, alcohol, work, the internet, or drugs. For a short time, these activities can take the edge off feeling stressed. In the long run, however, they are temporary solutions that actually can become the problem, even an addiction. Stress eating, which initially may have helped you cope with feeling frazzled, can evolve into the problem of binge eating and become the source of your distress rather than the comfort that eases your distress. Many people have a very low tolerance for distress. The moment they begin to feel uncomfortable, they look for anything to get rid of that feeling, quick. However, what is really needed is a solid way to cope with and endure these uncomfortable feelings. Every day, people find lots of different ways to soothe themselves. Some are helpful, and some are not. Activities like exercising, taking a nap, or calling a friend are healthy behaviors for unwinding after a stressful day. Other ways are not good for you and may damage your health and relationships. In fact, some self-soothing behaviors can even be harmful in the long run, like playing games on the computer for hours or numbing yourself out with alcohol. Some of the many ways that people soothe themselves with food are discussed next. Examples of self-soothing with food. This list will provide you with some indications that you may be using food to work through your feelings. This is not an exhaustive list, but only some common examples of behaviors that people engage in when using food to deal with stress. Eating puts you in a trance-like state or numbs you out. Chewing and munching on something feels good. Grazing, eating when you aren't hungry but you can't stop yourself, numbs you. Cravings start up from feeling any emotion, whether positive or negative. Searching for something to eat, but not being able to find something satisfying. Continuing to eat because you can't determine or find what it is that you want to eat. Continuing to eat even when it feels like it will never be enough. Experiencing a great sense of relief while you are eating. Feeling an intense need for something good tasting inside your mouth. Experiencing every emotion as hunger. This makes it hard to know what you are really feeling. Eating as a way to relax. Eating immediately after a stressful event or when you are nervous. Making the connection and saying, I'm only eating this candy bar because I am so stressed out. Eating foods you don't even like because they are there and you need comfort. Eating to stave off boredom. Feeling emotionally empty most of the time despite being well fed physically. Seeking a particular kind of food like chocolate because it seems to change your mood. Preparing or buying treats so that you'll have them just in case you'll need them. Tending to overeat at important or stressful events like family reunions and business meetings. Eating leads to guilt when you do it for soothing rather than to stop physical hunger. Who is this book for? This is a great book for all types of emotional eaters. If you use food to soothe yourself, it is truly worth your time to listen to all the chapters and try the techniques. We've all experienced emotional eating at one time or another. Men, women, teens, adults, just about everyone uses food to regulate their emotions to some degree. This includes normal eaters, people who don't have eating issues, as well as dieters and those with eating disorders. For some people, emotional eating is a minor issue. It is done only on rare occasions and in little ways. Gobbling a chocolate brownie to deal with a particularly bad case of PMS symptoms is a good example. Munching nervously on popcorn during a scary movie is another. Even gorging yourself on ice cream after a stressful day can be an acceptable indulgence. Giving yourself this kind of comfort might not be a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but you want to be very cautious that it doesn't become a habit. Nor do you want eating chocolate to be the only method you turn to for soothing each time you have PMS or a bad day. There are other effective options like taking a hot bath, exercising, or meditating. These methods address the problem of stress more directly and don't make you feel guilty or leave you wanting to beat yourself up later for using them. For many other people, however, eating to self-soothe is a daily chronic struggle. They do it so often that they become trapped in a vicious cycle they can't break out of. If you have chronic issues with eating or using food to tranquilize yourself, you might have binge eating disorder or another eating disorder. In general, binge eating disorder is characterized by frequent and repeated overeating to alleviate stress or other negative feelings. This disorder may be present when your primary means of coping is to eat, and it is not just something you do now and then. You may feel that eating takes up most of your time and energy. You also may feel that your life revolves around eating to the point that it has become difficult to carry out your daily routine. If you suspect that you have some of the symptoms of binge eating disorder or any other eating disorder, it would be to your benefit to obtain additional support and treatment from a mental health professional and a physician to make sure that you are adequately addressing the issue. Listening to this book is a fantastic first move, but it's important to get the right kind of treatment as well. You have just begun a new chapter in your life. You've begun to explore healthy ways to deal with the stress in your life. Keep in mind that it isn't easy to give up food as a source of comfort. It will take time. Gender issues. Although many of the examples in this book are geared toward women, the tips to be found in it apply to all emotional eaters, whether they are male or female. If you are a man who is listening to this book, you can extrapolate from the examples and tailor the techniques to fit your lifestyle. For example, if you don't enjoy gardening, perhaps you might notice that fishing provides similar benefits to those listed under this technique. It gets you outside and puts you in a relaxed state. It is also important to point out that this book has many examples and quotes from people coping with overeating problems. However, undereating and restrictive eating habits are also linked to deficits in self-soothing. So if you use restrictive eating to calm yourself or to feel in control of your emotions, consider using these healthy coping mechanisms instead. 5 helpful ways to soothe yourself. The 50 soothing techniques in this book are grouped into 5 major skill areas: mindfulness techniques, strategies to change your thoughts, strategies to calm your body, finding distractions, and gaining support. After you learn about the concept of self-soothing in this introduction and Chapter 1, you will learn how to get started in Chapter 2. Then you will hear about the basic principles of mindfulness in Chapter 3. Here is a brief description of what this book holds in store for you. Mindfulness meditation techniques. Mindfulness is defined as being keenly aware of what you are feeling and thinking in the moment in an open and accepting way. It is both an experience and an attitude. The concept is over 2,500 years old and is still used in modern therapies and healing practices. Mindfulness techniques are well-researched and clinically proven to have healing properties for the mind and body. The techniques teach people how to tolerate distress rather than avoid it. In Chapter 3, you will learn how to adopt a mindful attitude of awareness. Modern life is so busy that many people go through their days zoned out, unaware of many of the feelings that lead them to eat for emotional reasons. When you are mindful, you tune in to your mind and body. You can calm your emotions through compassionate inner self-talk, meditation, and breathing exercises. Mindfulness skills provide a realistic approach because you often can't get rid of the person or event that's causing you stress, such as an untidy spouse or a difficult job assignment. Instead, you have to learn to cope with the people and events that will continue to be a part of your everyday life, even though they tend to drive you crazy. Mindfulness is a perfect choice for self-soothing because it's an easy, straightforward alternative to eating. Change your thoughts, change your eating. In Chapter 4, you will learn new ways to think. The more aware you are of the way you think, the better able you are to prevent negative thoughts from triggering stress eating. Mindful thinking, affirmations, guided imagery, and realistic statements are all techniques that help to interrupt the flow of upsetting thoughts that are at the root of stress eating. Positive thinking and optimistic self-talk can help you alter self-defeating thoughts that serve only to exacerbate stress eating. Soothing sensations to calm and relax your body. When you are mindful of your body, you get to know how your body reacts to stress and emotions. In Chapter 5, you'll learn how to relax in a natural way without the aid of food. You can use your body as a tool for healing by doing self-massage, exercise, relaxation techniques, and yoga. Mindful distraction. Distraction is helpful when you engage in a behavior that is incompatible with eating. In Chapter 6, you'll think about activities that can keep you occupied, entertained, and away from the kitchen. These distractions can lift your mood, engage your attention, and be stimulating enough to lessen your urge to eat. Mindful distraction is not done to avoid your feelings, but to interrupt unproductive brooding and negative habits. Soothing support. One of the best ways to avoid falling into the trap of mindless eating is to find helpful social support. There is nothing more soothing than some comforting words from a friend or connecting with the world in a new way. However, finding such social support can be a challenge. Chapter 7 will give you some concrete ideas on how to reach out to others instead of to your refrigerator for comfort and support. Practice is your best life preserver. It's very important to practice using the self-soothing techniques in this book before you need them. You can't expect to put them into practice in the middle of a very strong urge to eat unless you've done some preliminary practicing. If you wait until you need them, it will be like trying to learn how to swim while you are drowning. You need to be a strong swimmer to deal with a huge wave of emotion. At first, these techniques might take some work or feel uncomfortable, but you want to get so good at doing them that by the time you need to use them, they will seem like second nature. Coping versus blissful. The overarching goal for this book is to help people cope with whatever is driving their urge to emotionally eat. Notice that the goal isn't to erase all of the pain, stress, and frustration complicating your life, nor is it to obtain pleasure. In other words, don't expect that these exercises will make you feel ecstatic, giddy, or joyous. Those feelings are very different from soothing and calming yourself. If the techniques help you to avoid, reduce, or delay emotional eating, consider this to be a great success. Eastern philosophies are clear about the notion of suffering. We all suffer. No one can escape it. This is why coping skills are so essential. When you try to escape pain through numbing out or external pick-me-ups, you can unintentionally make the problem worse. If you are an emotional eater, this isn't new news to you. As a result, you may want to really focus on mindful coping. Let this be your main objective. 1. Why is eating so soothing? I love comfort food. My favorite is homemade macaroni and cheese. I'd choose it any day over a gourmet meal. Those little noodles have an amazing ability to make me feel warm and cozy, even when I'm frazzled. I don't understand why eating comfort food makes me feel this good. Maybe it's biological? Or perhaps eating gooey mac and cheese reminds me of being a kid? Why is it like waving a magic wand over my mood? Kendra. Imagine for a moment 2 women, Jennifer and Cindy. They both have had a stressful day at work due to their critical and irrational boss. Jennifer begins snacking the moment she gets home as a way to calm down. Cindy, on the other hand, calls a friend to vent about her terrible day. Why does one woman cope with her irritation by nibbling on snacks, while the other turns to a friend to find comfort? You'll find the answer in this chapter, which will cover some theories about how healthy and unhealthy coping mechanisms develop and are maintained. You'll also learn why it is so important to find a non-food alternative to pacify your mind and body. Theories of self-soothing. Self-soothing is a term coined by the branches of psychology called self-psychology and attachment theory. According to these disciplines, the ability to regulate your feelings is at the core of your well-being. Regulating feelings simply means that you can temper strong emotions like anger and sadness. You are able to tolerate things that get you really upset and stressed out without crumbling or falling to pieces. You've probably witnessed people who are very good at self-soothing. They seem able to let things go. Sometimes they look at the bright side of a difficult situation. They cope with stress without turning to methods that could make it worse or be harmful to them. They have the confidence that things will work out, no matter what happens. You also know people who have no or little ability to self-soothe. When they hit a problem, they fall apart like an eggshell fracturing into hundreds of pieces. They are unable to put the pieces back together. The problem might cause them to become irritable or frazzled. They may have a hard time getting over whatever is bothering them. Sometimes, in extreme cases, people without self-soothing skills can't even function. They have trouble getting up in the morning, going to work, or taking care of themselves. According to attachment theory, your primary caregivers are the first people to teach you self-soothing skills. As a toddler, when you fall down and scrape your knee, you begin to internalize the caring and calming words your parents say to you while they are picking you up. Your parents also help by rocking you and talking in a slow, soothing voice. One or both parents may also kiss your knee. As an adult, when you experience a big crisis or an emotional pitfall, you're likely to have a repertoire of calming and soothing words in your memory that you can use to talk yourself through the problem. These calming words became paired with the soothing physiological responses that took place when a parent calmed you down by rocking you. So talking yourself through a crisis tends to automatically trigger the reduction of your physiological reactions associated with stress. You also may find yourself seeking a hug from a loved one. The hug comforts you because you grew up with a parent's touch as a source of support and reassurance. If you did not learn self-soothing from a parent early on, a hug may not help you at all. Moreover, without early experiences of self-soothing, you may be at a loss for what to say to yourself to work through how you feel. The intensity of your emotion can be so great that you become paralyzed or overwhelmed by how you are feeling. If this is your habitual response to stressful situations, most likely you weren't taught the words you need to soothe yourself. Many people with eating problems have a lot of difficulty putting into words how they feel. Although your parents may have set the stage for your self-soothing abilities, they weren't the only people who influenced the development of this ability. You may have had other role models in your life who taught you how to self-soothe. For example, therapy clients often talk about the praise and comfort they received from a beloved teacher, mentor, or relative. When they feel alone or are struggling emotionally, the memory of the kind words spoken by this important person often help them to feel better. Some of it depends on you. You teach yourself how to self-soothe through trial and error. For example, once on a particularly bad day, you may have pulled the covers over your head and stayed in bed. It seemed to help. More sleep calmed you down, and you woke up in a much better mood. So the next time you feel so stressed out, you might try the same method. You also might have achieved some goals that help you to feel good about yourself, like running a marathon. When you're feeling down in the dumps, thinking about this accomplishment can help you to feel better about yourself. If you don't have a strong set of skills already in place, this means it's important to work on developing them now. The good news, according to attachment theory, is that it is possible to strengthen these skills. This is one reason that people go into therapy, to
Sample complete. Ready to continue?